Butuan mo na butuan.
Oo, pero wala. Pero hindi pwedeng hindi pwede na yung iba ay before, yung iba during. So, batuhan tayo. Anong gusto nyo?
Saan po
Sino
during,
gusto?
Pastor?
Okay, during. Couple. Paul, ikaw.
Undecided. Undecided po. Pero during na lang ako.
Okay. James?
During po.
Okay. So, Barry Jairo, during na. Let's go. During ka na lang para mag-compromise. Okay. Sige, during na lang. Ako rin, kung estudyante ako, gusto ko rin ng during. Kasi, mas mahaba ang time to prepare. Alright. Sige. Tapos ko lang ito. Sandali lang, guys. Ano ba ang ngayon? Ang date ngayon?
Ano pong coverage po, Pastor, ng
Mamaya, basically, lahat ng tinalakay nating review. But I'll give specific pointers mamaya. Okay? So let me just go live sa Facebook para ma-save ko ito. Okay. Okay. Let me share my screen. Alright, lessons 30 to 33 ang focus natin today. And these are the last, I think, lectures before we, maybe not. But this is a review, these are the last. Essentially, this is about me verbs. Lesson 30 is about me verb indicative, me verb subjunctive and imperative on the next lesson. Lesson 32 is about me verbs, infinitive and participle forms, and then other me verbs. All right, me verbs are, say, a category of Greek verbs that are other than the omega verbs. All of the verbs that you have memorized and worked on prior to this lesson, we classify them as omega verbs because most of them end with an omega. Diba? Lego, luo, ganun. So, ito naman mga me verbs, you can guess, it ends yung kanilang stem form. Sorry, yung kanilang nominate first person singular form sa me. They're usually divided into three classes ang mga me verbs. They're classified according to the stem vowels. When we say stem vowel, that is referring to the vowel, the last letter actually of the stem. Okay? If you look at, for example, didomi, didomi looks like it's having a stem vowel that is omega, Pero ang stem vowel talaga ng didomi ay omicron. Yung tithemi ay epsilon, and histemi ay alpha. Okay? So meron tayong omicron class, epsilon class, saka alpha class. But generally speaking, if you know one pattern, if you are familiar with one pattern, that should help you with the rest, generally speaking. So there are 5 rules to the me verbs, so that you can have what do you call this? Ease in recognizing and parsing me verbs. So the first rule has something to do with the prefix. Prefix is something that you add with the stem. And then one rule pertains to the stem or concerns the stem. And then 3 rules are about the ending or there's something to do with the ending. So for the first, for the prefix, remember that there is an iota reduplication that happens in two tenses, the present and the imperfect tenses. And then sa ending naman, meron tayong 3 rules that concern the ending. The present, active, me, verb endings are unique. The me, esin, mente, asin. Also, the sign of the first aorist active indicative is not sigma alpha but kappa alpha. And number 4, there's no connecting vowels in the indicative mood. And finally, about the stem, the length of me verb stem vowel is generally unpredictable. So there's no pattern. You just have to memorize. You cannot guess if, for example, dido me will have a short stem vowel or long, depending on if you go to, for example, the imperative or the participle. You cannot really guess. All right. So 5 rules. First, iota reduplication takes place in the present and imperfect tenses. Let's skip that. Let's focus on the first one. The reduplication of the initial consonant is separated by an iota. We are used to seeing reduplication, di ba? On what tense? In the perfect, di ba? Meron tayong reduplication. Although the reduplication of the initial consonant in the perfect is separated by an epsilon. In the me verbs, it is separated by iotas, or an iota rather. So halimbawa ito, the verb stem of didomi is da. So the first consonant, there's only 2 letters. The only consonant is delta. So you duplicate that and then you separate it with an iota. Ayan. So didomen, tithamen. Okay? All right, this one holds true even for histemi. Now, histemi is a little bit different because it begins with a vowel. And so what are you going to reduplicate? But the expected form is, ayun, systemi. But we don't have systemi. Although the rule is still applying, the reduplicated sigma is indicated by the rough breathing mark. Okay, so nakita nyo ito, di ba? Hindi tayong rough breathing mark. Sorry. Meron tayong rough breathing mark dito. Ano? So yung rough breathing mark na yan, that indicates the reduplicated sigma. Siyempre, hindi siya mukhang sigma, di ba? But that's what it represents. Now, sa perfect active naman ay hesteka. Bakit hesteka? Well, because the reduplication in the perfect is separated by an epsilon, not by an iota. Kaya hesteka. Okay, not sesteka. Okay? Alright, first rule, iota reduplication takes place in the present and imperfect tenses. The second is, the present active indicative me verb endings are unique. What are those endings? Ayan, me, esin, mente, asin. Right? Those are unique. But they're unique because they are deviating from what you already know. Di ba? Ang alam nyo sa present active indicative endings ay o, ace, a, ominete, usin. So not in the me verbs, in the indicative. In the indicative only. Outside the indicative, the rules, the endings that you've learned still apply. So all other forms of the me verb use the normal endings learned for luo. That's a blessing, you know. So for example, dido me, right? Let's call on James Rojas or James. The point here is to illustrate to you that outside the indicative, the normal endings apply. Okay? So, Barry James, what would be the future active form of dido me? First person singular. What do we know? What do you know about the future ending?
May sigma.
Okay? So, paano yan? Paano ang future active ending? O, ganito lang, Bar James. Kunyari yan ay Lego. Hindi, wag yun. Irregular yan. Kunyari yan ay luwaw. Ano ang future ng luwaw? First person singular.
Luso.
Okay? So, ano ngayon ang future active ng didomi? Ha? Ano ngayon ang future active first person singular ng didomi? Okay, Brother James, walang reduplication sa future, ha? Walang reduplication. Kapag luwaw, sasabihin mo, luso. So, paano ngayon sa didomi? Okay. So, alisin mo yung reduplication, okay? So, you see the word didomi, alisin mo yung reduplication. Malita sa domi, di ba? Domi. Tama ba? Ngayon, the future ka, hindi mo gagamitin yung me. Anong gagamitin mo? Yung binanggit mo sa luwaw kanina.
Duso.
Ha?
Okay.
Doso. Doso. Okay, does that make sense to you? Okay ba? Okay. Alright, let's go on. Brother Paul, what is the perfect active of didomi? Okay, all of this, kaya ako kayo tinatanong, is to show you that outside the indicative, what you already know applies. Kagaya nung sigma addition sa future, di ba? So, Brother Paul, anong sagot mo? Perfect active of didomi.
Didomi, Pastor. Didomi.
Oh, perfect active. Didomi, that is, brother?
Present
Yung
active.
active, that is present active. Anong perfect form?
Didoka.
Yun.
Tama ba?
Yeah.
Didoka.
Doka, oh. Doka.
Sumamba lang ko.
Yeah. So 5 rules. The third is the sign of the first aorist active indicative is kappa alpha. We're used to first aorist sign is sigma alpha. So ito kappa alpha. So for example, didomi becomes edoka. Okay, it becomes edoka. Number 1, because there's no reduplication. Number 2, because you have an augment. And then kappa alpha is the sign of first aorist. Okay. Immediately, you might be thinking, what about the perfect? Kaske, kaming, katikan. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So, tithemi, etheika. May exception. Okay, histemi uses the normal sigma alpha ending. Pasaway si histemi. No? But if that happens, then walang problema kasi you already know how to you already know what to do with sigma alpha, di ba? Alam niyo na yung first aeration. Ayan. So, ayan ang example. Histemi, naging hesteika. Again, you don't have an iota here because this is an augment. Alright? And you don't have this because there is no reduplication in the aorist tense. Alright, distinguishing first aorist from perfect. Yan, kasi ang perfect din, di ba? Kaske, kamin, katikan. So, the difference is the reduplication in the perfect tense. Ayan, no? Ito ay, on the left side, this is your first aorist me verb form. Edoka. Pag perfect, dedoka. Dedoka. See? So, middle forms. The aorist middle forms of didomi and tithemi have no sigma alpha. Okay, they have no sigma alpha. And I think it's because they are second aorist. Okay, maybe. So, halimbawa, didomi, it becomes a domain. A domain. Okay? Now you have a problem here. Maybe you don't realize yet that you have a problem here. Okay, example pa sa baba, ano? Tithemi, a themain. Okay, this is the problem. What distinguishes this from the imperfect? Kasi yun ang ending ng imperfect, di ba? Omen u, eto, omen este, onto. And the answer is rule number 1, reduplication. So for example, yan ang imperfect form ng imperfect middle form ng didomi. And the domain kapag sa kapag sa aorist middle, ito, a domain. Okay? Hindi a domain. Do we have a chat here? Okay. Okay. Kung minsan daw nawawala si Brother Paul dahil may dumarating daw sa church na. Okay. Papahanap natin siya pag nawala. Alright, 5 rules. Let's go to the 4th. No connecting vowels are used in the indicative mood. Yun, walang connecting vowels. The endings are directly added to the stem. Maybe it's parang weird because sanay na tayo sa connecting vowels, but not necessarily. Hindi talaga to weird because it's me verb naman, me verb. So for example, didomi, actually the stem ends with omega. Okay, omega, that omega, it is not a connecting vowel. That's part of the stem. So wala na siyang connecting vowel. See? Kasi kung lalagyan mo yan, dido-omi. Okay, applies only to connecting vowels between the me verb stem and the ending. Okay? Ganito. This rule, no connecting vowels are used in the indicative mood. This only applies when there is no letters in between the connecting vowel and the me verb ending. Okay, I'm going to show you. Kasi sa indicative, meron tayong, yan, that is indicative. That is the future passive form of didomi. Okay? Let me ask you a question. Let's ask Jeremy. Jeremy, where does the stem ends? What is the last letter of the stem? Jeremy.
A.
Ha?
A.
A?
A. Yung...
Ito?
Yeah. Apo.
Okay. Well, word ba ng stem yan? What's the stem of didomi?
Dido.
Yeah, do.
Oh.
So, what is the last letter of the stem?
Letter.
Ha? Sabi mo, do. What is the
Do.
last letter? What is the last letter of that?
Omicron.
Yun. Alright.
Omicron.
Okay. So, this is your ending. And this is your, this is your stem. This is your ending. Pastor, bakit may connecting vowel dyan? It is because may intervening letters. May intervening letters between your stem and your ending. When that happens, the connecting vowel appears. See? So, actually, kung wala yung connecting vowel, it would sound like doteismai. But this is correct. Doteisomai. Okay? So, hindi magkatabi yung stem mo at ending. Merong intervening letters. Kaya lumabas ulit si connecting vowel. Alright? So, kung hindi nyo naintindihan masyado yon, let me know. Ask questions. Question ba?
Yan po yung sa intervening. Sa intervening, ano po?
Oo.
Depende po sa ano yan? Sa tense niya? Yung nag-intervene? Hindi. Bakit po may
Oo.
theta?
Meron mga tenses na may ganyan eh. Theta. Oo.
Okay.
So yes, pati siguro sa future active, ano kasi, di ba? Future active, meron kang sigma eh. So ayun lang yan. All of that is to illustrate this. No connecting vowel rule in the indicative only applies kapag there are no intervening letters between your connecting vowel and the ending. I'm sorry, between your stem vowel and the ending. So, may exceptions. The singular, imperfect, active, indicative forms of did only. Ayan. Tandaan nyo, imperfect ay it's na indicative mood. So, ito yung exception. No? Expected natin, edidon. Okay, guys? Ito ay part of the stem. This is not a connecting vowel, di ba? Do. Ito naman, duplication. Ito naman ay augment. Okay? So, that is the expected ending. But the actual is edidun. Okay? Edidun. So, hindi edidon. Edidun. What happened there is that ito yung equation niya, no? Augment, reduplication, stem. Connecting vowel, ending. Okay? The connecting vowel would contract with the stem vowel. That's why you have Omicron plus Omicron is U, diba? That's why you have edidun. Okay? Okay. So, ito pa yung isa. Ano? Edidus. Saan mo nilagay yung edidun? Yeah. Magkano kailangan mo? Edidus. Okay. Edidu. Ayan. So, edidu. So, exception nito, because ang rule natin sa indicative, walang connecting vowel. Maliban lang sa mga ito, exception. Okay, 5 rules. Let's go to the last one. The length of me verb stem vowel is generally unpredictable. So, wala ka na magagawa dyan. Di mo naman predict, eh, no? So, ang gagawin mo for parsing purposes, just notice the prefixes and also the ending. Doon kang matay. Mahirap hulaan. Okay. Alright. Review me verb indicative. Let's go now to me verb subjunctives and imperative forms. Subjunctive forms, for the most part, similar to the omega verbs. Yeah, they're similar because we're no longer in the indicative. Diba? Sa indicative active naman ng ang me verb endings are unique. Diba? So everything you know about the subjunctive forms, most of those are applicable here. And tense indicates only kind of action. Walang time. Same thing is true with the subjunctive forms for the omega verbs. So there are only two kinds, linear, ongoing, or simple action. That's why we only have two tenses, present and second areas. At least two tenses that we require you to learn. Okay. Tignan nyo yung areas. Second areas lagi. So you know what that means? You will not see sigma alpha. Okay? Kapag me verbs at aorist, laging second aorist. Which you will find it's simpler. You'll see. Alam nyo ba that the key difference between the forms of the present and the second aorist and the aorist is the reduplication. That is all. Tingnan nyo, ha? So, halimbawa, present active subjunctive, first singular is dido. Why do we have D? That is your reduplication. Iota reduplication. Okay, what is the aorist active subjunctive for singular? You just remove the reduplication. It's like that, do. Okay? Proegere, what would be the second aorist middle subjunctive first singular of dido? Dido be?
Domai.
Yeah, domai. Akala ko siomai. Yeah, domai. Okay, domai. So, ganun lang. Ngayon lang. Pag subjunctive and me verb, madali ang buhay, di ba? Because me verb aorist subjunctives, they just follow the endings for the present minus the iota reduplication. Sobrang dali lang. So, ayun pa isa, primary endings are used. Kagaya rin dun sa kagaya rin sa normal omega verbs. O, ace, a, ominate, usin, omai, a, etai, omit, este, onta. Alright? So, yun yung gagamitin. Although, syempre, may long connecting vowels. Ayan. Ayan, no? Long connecting vowels. See that? Domai. By the way, ito, this is a combination of your stem vowel, the omicron, and what do you call this? Ito pala. The stem vowel and the, what do you call this? The connecting vowel. You know? So, kaya nag-gano siya contract. So, sa indicative, remember, wala tayong connecting vowel, di ba, sa indicative. So, you have dido, tapos may. Dido, may. Diba? Pero sa subjunctive, dido, meron ka connecting vowel. Tapos yung ending mo, yung connecting vowel mo, your connecting vowel would contract with the stem vowel. Kaya meron kang, ito, dito. Ayun. You know, naging ganun. Okay? Right, specific characteristics, the aorist active and middle are second aorist, thus sigma alpha is absent. What a blessing. The main distinguishing characteristic of second aorist is the absence of the sigma alpha, not the stem change. Okay? So you won't be seeing stem change here, but you will see, you will notice the absence of the sigma alpha. Now ito, the present active subjunctive third singular and the present middle subjunctive second singular are identical in all three patterns. So, yung third singular na present, di ba, ayan yun eh. Bakit ganito ito? It's because lengthen connecting vowel yan, di ba? O is A. Pag hinabaan mo yung epsilon, magiging iota, and then you keep the iota, pag hinabaan mo epsilon, magiging eta. And then you keep the iota as a subscript. No? Diba? O is A. So yan, lengthen A. So he may be. Meron din sa titemi tsaka histemi. Now yung isa naman, second person singular, middle passive. Diba, alam natin to eh, no? Hey. Diba, o my A etai. No? So what happens is, that's the A from eta of middle passive second singular. Yung o my A etai. So ayun yun. So identical sila. Ito yun, no? Yun. So, pareha sila. Pero yung isa, he may be. Yung isa naman, you may be. So, depending on the context. Hindi mahirap yan pag may context na kayo. Alright. The aorist active third singular and the aorist middle second singular are identical. Hindi domi. Yun. Hindi. Ganun din. Okay, the difference between present and aorist for active and middle is the reduplication. Don't forget that. The specific characteristics for the subjunctive mood, the verbs, contraction takes place in every subjunctive form. Right? Oh, merong laging contraction. Subjunctive endings begin with long connecting vowels, di ba? Yan ang key characteristic ng subjunctive, long connecting vowels. Pagkatapos, yung me verbs mo, all of them end in a vowel, di ba? Stem vowel mo. Alpha, alpha, epsilon, and omicron. So, kaya may contraction. Dahil dyan, nearly every form is marked with a circumflex. Okay, the sign of contraction. Now, let me test your memory here. All right. Look at the fourth word, thometa. Okay, why is that? Why is the accent not circumflex? You remember? Ang sagot dyan. Not circumflex eh, oh. Bakit yung thometa not circumflex? Anyone can remember? Ang sagot nyo to, plus 10 kayo sa forum. Ano? Okay, the answer. Meron bang kakalam? Ayan,
Kasi
okay,
po, ah, well, hindi pwede po yung circumflex sa, Renault. Ay,
Tama.
saan?
Tama. That's right. That's correct. Bawal ang circumflex dyan. Hanggang dito lang siya sa last, ultima, tsaka dito, ano. So ito, ang kaya lang makapunta dyan, acute. Okay. Good, good. Plus 10 sa forum agad. Ganun lang kadali. Okay, imperative tayo. Imperative. Alright. For the most part, similar to the omega verbs. Amen. Similar. Tense indicates only kind of action. So again, kagaya rin sa wala ring time. Linear and simple. Dahil dyan, there are only two tenses. Guess what? No, present and aorist. So they follow standard imperative endings. Ano ba yun? Totetosan, stostestosan. Sana you're very acquainted with this. Totetosan, stostestosan. Just remember that it begins with third singular. Right? So the second singular endings are irregular. There's no pattern. That's what we mean. Okay? So, ito yun. Ito sila. No? You have to memorize them. So, this is for the present active. Second singular. Well, guys, second singular yan. You do. Ito yan. Parang ganito. Nalala niyo to? Nalala niyo ba siya? Diba? There's no pattern. That's why we memorize present active sa luo ay middle passive u. Ito yun. Ito yung ibig sabihin yan. Okay? So medyo iba kasi itong u, present active, di ba? But if you look at the omega verbs, yung u, present middle. Oh, be careful. So, di do, di da, sa das, do, do, theti. Yan. So, ayun lang. We just remember how we emphasize that you need to memorize this so that when you're looking at an imperative mood verb, you will not get confused because you'll be thinking, this is not totetosan, stostestosan. Yes, because it is second person singular. All right, identifying me verb imperatives. Madali lang din ito, no? If you want to identify the tense, you just ask, meron duplication ba? If yes, then that's a present tense. Imperative. If no, then aorist yan. Dalawa lang naman eh. Now, if you want to know the voice, mood, and person number, look at the endings. Alam niyo na, totetosan, stostestosan, di ba? If I say stosan, that is middle. Di ba? Alam niyo na middle ending yun eh. So, tandaan yung active, totetosan, middle passive, stostestosan. Aorist passive, theta, plus the active endings. Okay? So, James, ano ang parsing yan? Tense, voice, mood, person, number. Meron duplication ba, James? James?
Wala.
What's the
Aries.
tense? Good. Okay. So, active ba yan o middle?
Aries
Okay.
active.
Okay. What's the mood? Huwag ka magkakamali. Minus 10 ka sa forum.
Imperative.
Okay?
Person.
Person number.
Second person plural.
Good. Okay. Let's call on Paul. Where Paul? May duplication ba? Wala pa si Barry Paul? Boss ng gate?
Wala po. Dito po ako.
Wala. Okay. May duplication ba?
Oo. Wala po. Wala po.
Anong tense?
Auris po. First auris.
What's the voice? Stostestosa. What's the voice?
passive, Master.
Okay? Medyo
Middle
matagal
passive
ah.
po.
Oo. Alright.
Pinag-isipan ko po talaga.
Isipan mo ba?
Good, imperative po. Imperative.
Okay. Personal number.
Third person. Singular.
Okay? Sige. Alright, let's skip the other ones. Alright. Participle tayo. Oy, infinitive pala. Sorry, infinitive pala. So, sa infinitive ng, sounds ganun din eh. So, nai as the active ending. Doon sa omega verbs, ain, di ba? Ain, estai, estai, sais, estai. So, ito naman active by nai. So, mag-iingat, basta di, do, mi. Basta alam nyo na yung source, ay me verb, then you immediately switch, You immediately remember, okay, it may not be as the same as the omega verbs when it comes to ending. So, you have to alert yourself. Ayun. Okay, nai ang active. Yung stai ay middle. See that? For both present and aorist. Yung nagkaiba lang, replication. Tingnan nyo. Di dostai, dostai. Di thestai, thestai. I like his timing kasi wala siya dito. Alright, tenai as aorist passive. Theta, eta, alam niyo naman yun, di ba? Okay, when you translate me verb in infinitives, you still follow the rules for the omega verbs. So, di ba, in translation yan, it is necessary to be preaching the word. Let's change the omega verb to a me verb. Yeah, it is necessary, to be giving the word. Parehas lang principle of translation. Okay? So there are no other rules. So in summary, the active endings are nai, parehas, no? Aorist and present. The middle passive ending is stai, and the aorist passive ending is tenai. Okay? Okay, let's call on Jeremy. Paipars mo yung infinitive na yan.
Aorist.
Okay. Okay. Aorist.
Nice, tay. Middle
Gagawin
passive.
ka.
Middle passive.
Hindi, sige, okay.
Tama pa ba?
Hindi, mali. Kasi,
Mamimili ako.
middle.
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 Okay po. Okay. Nice, tay.
Okay, Barjaire, ikaw naman.
Aorist po.
Okay,
At saka passive.
good. Participle forms, remember, ent is for active, men is for middle passive. So, kagaya nito, yun, ontos, onti, onta. And then remember, we ask you to memorize, or I ask you to memorize the nominative singular forms, on, usa, on. Same thing's true sa me verbs. Ito yung mga endings nila. Oh. Medyo iba lang. Usa, on. Konti lang. Konti lang. Ano yung kanina? On, usa, on. Ito. Usa, on. Konti lang. Yung masculine actually. Alright, so ito yun. Deduce, didontos. Didontos. Okay. So, the dative singular will be what? Deduce, didontos, didonti. Os, ia. Follows the third declension ending. And then, ganun din dito sa masculine. Didominos, didomino, didomino, didominon. So, histemi has both first and second perfect participle forms. Ibig sabihin na one with a kappa and one without. Hesteikos, hesteikatos, or Hestos, Hestotos. Okay, so just be aware about that. Okay, that's it. Still have 7 minutes to go. Here are the test materials. Okay, so ayan yan. Just copy it, and this coming, let me see. I'll just be standing by there. Okay? Actually, let me see. How are you gonna do this? The exam will be open. You will be able to access it 8:30 in the morning. Okay, let's just meet. Okay, let's just meet here. And I think it's best for you if you can print this. Huh? Meron ba kayong mga printer? Wala. Wala. Malapit sa inyo. Or if you were to answer this on a separate sheet of paper, just make sure it's very clear. Which are you answering? Hindi challenging kasi may translation ito. So, yun yan. Any question about this? Let's look at our schedule. So, after the quiz, after the exam, September 1st, wala rin kayong quizzes September 3. Right? We will be discussing the nominative case. At this point, pag sinabi natin nominative, you think of what subject or a predicate nominative, di ba? But medyo may iba ng sobra. So, ayan na yan. And then, notice that on week 6, you will begin, you will continue your reading in 1st Jan. Okay? All right. Any question? I'll let you go early today. May tanong ba kayo? Wala naman? So, okay na. Bali, ano lang. First exam. Mag-aaral kayo mabuti. Meron ba sa inyo magpipreach sa Sunday? Meron ba preacher sa Sunday sa inyo? Jeremy? Okay. Saan ka magpipreach, Brad? Sa hapon? Marunong ka ba sa Japanese? Hala. Akala ko.
Tuwing hapon po ng linggo.
Anong bi-preach mo?
Ephesians po. Nag-series po ako ng Ephesians eh.
Yes.
Chapter 5 na po ako ngayon.
Oh, lapit na. Hindi lapit na.
Opo.
Well, that's it, 4 minutes early pa. Wow. So, you could use this to take a break, Okay. Let's dismiss the class. Okay, you are dismissed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you po, Pastor.
Bye, guys.